Elasticity of supply. The formula percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price gives the value of elasticity of supply. Based on the value, the concept elasticity of supply identifies 5 types of elasticities. Well, this is how we finished the first part. Now, we shall go ahead with the classification of the 5 types of elasticities. 1. To begin with, examine this case. For the sake of simplicity, let me use the linear supply curve. The price increases from 4 rupees to 5 rupees. The quantity increases from 8 units to 10 units. It means 25% increase in price causes a 25% increase in quantity supply. Plug in these values in the formula. 25% over 25%. Elasticity value is 1. If elasticity value is 1, it is a case of unitary elastic supply. Here is a tips for the students to draw the unitary elastic supply curve. Draw the supply curve in such a way that if the lower segment of the supply curve is extended, it must pass through the origin, no matter what its slope is. 2. Let me make a small change in the supply curve. For the same increase in price, quantity increases from 8 units to 12 units. Price increase is 25%, increase in quantity is 50%. Elasticity value is 50% over 25%, that is 2. If the elasticity value is greater than 1, supply is said to be relatively elastic. While drawing a relatively elastic supply curve, keep the following in your mind. Draw the upward sloping supply curve. If the lower segment of the curve is extended, it must pass through the y-axis. 3. Once again, I shall use the same graph and make a small alteration. Now, for the same change in price, quantity increases from 8 units to 9 units. A 25% change in price causes a 12.5% change in quantity. Elasticity value is 12.5% over 25% equal to 0.5. If the elasticity value is less than 1, supply is said to be relatively inelastic. Again, a word to the students. Draw the supply curve in such a way, if the lower tip is extended, it must pass through the x-axis. 4. See this supply curve. It is vertical, parallel to y-axis. Whatever be the price, the same quantity is supplied. It symbolizes perfectly inelastic supply. If the elasticity value is 0, supply is perfectly inelastic. 5. Finally, look at this supply curve. It is flat and horizontal to the x-axis. At the existing price, an innumerable quantity is supplied. It represents perfectly elastic supply. If the elasticity value is infinite, supply is perfectly elastic. Thus, the concept elasticity of supply identifies 5 types of elasticities. unitary elastic supply, relatively elastic supply, perfectly elastic supply, relatively inelastic supply, and perfectly inelastic supply. How to measure elasticity of supply using the percentage method? That we shall discuss in part